Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, BNI members around the country and around the world. I see lots of people rolling in, so thank you for joining us today from all over the world. We appreciate having you with us, for our How to Invite Visitors to your BNI meeting. On our panel discussion today, just want to take care of a couple of housekeeping things while we are waiting on our everyone else to come in. So first, want to let you know that this conversation is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the Business Booster Series folder in BNI University, and you can access that through the training tab. Secondly, you are getting CEUs for participating in and joining us today for our webinar. So thank you all for being with us. Really appreciate that. I see people coming in from Brazil, from Taiwan, from New York, from Orlando, from Hong Kong, South Africa. So that is really cool. So don't forget to log your CEU credits for your participation today. And then the third thing is the chat bar is obviously very active, which is awesome. So if you are going to chat, please use the chat bar for that. If you would save the Q&A bar for questions directed specifically to our panel, that would be great. So if you will do that, that would be fantastic. So I am going to do some quick introductions of our panelists, and then I will get the meeting started. We are having a little challenge here getting all of our panelists online. Our first panelist this morning is Mr. Bharat Daga, who is joining us from India, where he is a co-executive director and has been as such since 2013. He has grown his region from 147 members to 1,470, and I don't know about you, that seems like pretty easy math, 1,000% increase in 6 years. Pretty amazing results. He is also a district director and a national trainer in India, as well as a member of the Founders Circle for the last 3 years, and of our Plus Innovation Task Force since its inception. Bharat was awarded the CEO Givers Gain Award in 2018 by our CEO, Graham Weimiller, and I have to think that that's something that is really special in your BNI career, Bharat, which is a really neat thing. I have to say, for me, one of the things I appreciate about Bharat is just his incredible people orientation. We talk about passion, people, process, and he says, let's talk about people. It's about the people, and that is so true, and I really appreciate that about him. Tim Roberts is also joining us for our panel today. He is the past National Director for BNI USA, which is BNI's largest country, and has 187 franchisees, over 3,500 chapters, and right at 80,000 members. Tim is a past member of the Founders Circle and the Executive Council, and he is now a member of the U.S. Franchise Advisory Council as the National Director Emeritus. He is an executive director in BNI New Hampshire, as well as Central Florida and Northeast Florida, where he has 100 chapters and just about 2,500 members. He hosts the BNI and Power of One podcast every week, which is downloaded in 110 countries. That's a pretty strong distribution there. Tim and his beautiful wife, Lindsay, and their 2 children and the 2 dogs, gotta include them, live in Salem, New Hampshire. I have to say, one of the things I appreciate about Tim, in addition to just the fact that he's a complete straight shooter, is that he constantly challenges us to raise the bar on our performance. And I really appreciate that about him. So that is totally awesome. And our third panelist, who I am hoping I can get on the screen here in a minute, we seem to be having a technical difficulty, so I beg your indulgence, is Emily Sloyer-Galindo. She is the regional director for Texas and the Ozarks. For the past 15 months, she has built a rock star team that has launched 7 chapters They have increased their overall retention by 12%, and last year finished as the #1 region in the United States. And I have to say that I appreciate her competitive spirit. She has 2 young children who are currently climbing the walls under the circumstances, and she refers to them as her BNI babies because she met her husband Fez in BNI. So thank you to our panelists for being here. They have an amazing passion and an incredible wealth of knowledge around this topic. And so I'm going to go to Tim first, and then we'll go to Bharat, and I will get Emily up here on the screen. I would just like each of you guys to comment quickly, 30 to 60 seconds, about the importance of this topic of inviting visitors to your online meeting. So Tim, would you take it away and be the first to comment, please?
Sure, and thank you for having me, and welcome to everybody who's on here. I think inviting it now is just like inviting any other time, although really more impactful. So what I've been talking a lot about to my members is this is kind of the challenging times that we face are providing some unique opportunities if you decide to look at it that way. And one of the opportunities is how we can make impact on each other's lives. It's one of the reasons why meetings still, even though BNI Online is so important, is how we can impact our fellow members' lives beyond just tangible referral generation, being there to support one another, being there to, even just the mental support of being together and networking and sharing ideas, and also preparing ourselves for whatever the time is that we get back to normal and we have a recovery period. At the same time, it provides us a unique opportunity to do that for so many other people. People who maybe never really looked at BNI or heard about BNI, but were too busy. I fundamentally believe that you're going to see some business owners and some sales professionals realize that they've really been kind of isolated all along, but just never really felt it before because they were really busy meeting with customers and meeting with clients. And if they weren't, they were going to an office and they were talking to colleagues, and all of that is gone right now. And so you got some people who are feeling really, really isolated, that by inviting them, showing them that you have an amazing support team around you, people who are going through what you're going through, who are dedicated to wanting to help each other not only get through this, but thrive through this and thrive after, is amazingly powerful. And it's just such an opportunity to impact so many more, and in a much easier way, right? We know where people are. We know they're not running around right now. We can take advantage of that opportunity and truly live Givers Gain through that.
That is so true. I love that, Tim. Excellent share. Thank you so much. I would like to ask Bharat for you to just comment about that as well, and then we'll go to Emily.
Yes, thank you so much. It's great to be on the panel. Thank you for having me here, and welcome to everybody from around the world. And just adding to what Tim said, yes, I completely agree. This is one of the best times to have people around, having lots of them at the BNI meeting. You know what? It's the easiest way to give right now to your chapter. Because if you're going to invite a lot of people who are unable to come earlier because they were so busy doing all the things that they were doing, rushing to office, or probably, people who had early morning roles. I mean, you could never, like Ivan said, you could never invite a principal of a school earlier, maybe. But now they can come on. And so it's a great opportunity to invite all those people in your network and introduce them to all your chapter members. Is the biggest way of giving. And after all, I think all of us joined BNI for wanting to grow through networking. And if each one of us did a little bit of wanting to contribute to each one's growth, if you care about them in your chapter, we'd all be able to grow together. Thank you. Gina, over to you.
Yeah, the ultimate expression of Givers Gain, right? And in Dr. Ivan Misner's original best-selling book, The World's Best Known Marketing Secret, he says there's 3 reasons you need a network: information, support, and referrals. And I think now more than ever, we need those things. I mean, Tim alluded to the support element, and Bharat talking about the referral element and helping us grow together. So let's go to Emily and get your thoughts, Emily, on the importance of this topic and having this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, to Tim's point earlier, people are way more accessible right now. And in order to be able to reach out to them, life isn't quite as crazy. It is, but it is in a different way. And people are constantly in front of the computer right now. They're on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, and they're looking for ways to be informed with the news. They're looking ways to be entertained as well. And so all of those individuals that you wanted to work with or wished or dreamed or asked to be able to partner with in terms of referral partnerships, this is the time to be able to connect with them and invite them into your network and start to develop those relationships. My background is in digital marketing, so I'm incredibly passionate about the use of digital marketing and digital media to be able to connect with individuals. And so really harnessing the power of the LinkedIn direct mail and having that personal conversation to get people to your meeting is so much easier now that everybody is right in front of the computer and able to look at their messages. I've heard stories all over of people who have been digging through their direct mail and their PM's messaging that they've missed. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't respond a month ago. You know, so people are really trying to find different ways to connect with individuals. And so I think that if we aren't utilizing that, we're missing a huge opportunity to be able to grow our networks and give back to our chapters, to those members who have been desperately looking for a specific person, but nobody's ever taken the time to connect with them. So I think it's a lot easier right now than it ever has been.
Interesting perspective, and we're kind of going to touch on that question in a minute. So we'll continue on that thought for sure. What I want to do too is, while we're kind of on the why the importance of this topic, and even really why invite, right? I mean, this webinar is a little bit about the mechanics, how. I think if we go into the original thought process of why do we do it to begin with, right? So Simon Sinek on the whole start with why, when we want to inspire people to take action, it's important for them to understand why we're asking them to do something or why we're recommending that they do it. And Tim has had a lot of great presentations, and even his presentation at the conference a couple years ago, Growth is Not the Goal. I encourage you to check that out on BNI University. I would love to go to Tim to talk first about sort of why invite? I mean, why?
Yeah, I think, I mean, one of the things that's challenging at BNI, I think, is the why gets a little bit lost when it comes to inviting and growth. And that's kind of the topic of the webinar and the presentation at the conference you're talking about. What you want to do is really think about strategically where and why you should be inviting for your chapter, right? Right now, we talk about the fact that right now more than ever, BNI is important, and I believe that people need to use it a little bit differently. They need to be thinking a little bit differently. They need to have different strategies on where they add value and prepping. And one of the things you want to do is focus on the retention of your members. And that's where inviting really matters. When you think about it, most people think of it as growing to some arbitrary number. We got to get our chapter from 30 to 40, 40 to 50, whatever the number is. And if you ask a chapter like, okay, why do you have a goal of going from 40 to 50? There's never really a good answer besides, well, there's more members and more members makes more money. And statistically, that's true. Unfortunately, it's not true for everybody. My focus on inviting and growth in general is about creating equal opportunity for success for everyone. Okay. And so when we're in a normal day and we're meeting and everybody's doing tangible business, it's about creating your contact spheres, because the contact spheres, statistically, we know, are going to find you the most referrals. They create the most opportunity for people. So as a chapter, as a whole, our goal is to look at our chapter and say, okay, are we creating the same opportunity for everybody in the group? Most, I'd say 99% of the time, don't. Mostly because it's an invisible problem, right? We don't really see contact spheres. And so in general, inviting should be that. It should be a strategy about making sure everybody's playing the same game. If we believe that member retention is our number one focus, which I think it should be for any chapter, it should be about who's in the room right now, right? Who do we care? I often joke, but I'm dead serious when I say it. When I talk to my members, I tell them, I don't care about the person who's not a BNI member right now. I don't think about like individuals like that. But once they become a member, I care 100%. And if we all believe that, that means when somebody joins our chapter and we say we want to help them become more successful, we got to really mean that. And by meaning that, we need to look at how do we do that? And it's not just tangible referrals, because not everybody's going to be able to do that on a grand scale. But it's about, can we help them make sure that they're in the right place to succeed? And thus, that's where growth comes in, strategic growth, to make sure contacts are complete. And this is the same thing right now. I would be doing the same thing. You can actually scale it much easier right now, but I would be doing the same thing right now, because to me, again, what we're going through is unique. Everybody wants to compare it to things like recessions and depressions and all these kind of things. And my point is like, no, I think that might be what happens when we go back to normal. We're kind of in this black hole of time right now. What's going to matter for people is the recovery period that follows. And those who have a well-developed network are going to recover, and they're going to recover much quicker and much more effectively than those who don't. And just having a BNI chapter is a huge step in that, but having well-defined contact spheres within that chapter is what's going to really matter, and really save your members and make sure our member retention continues to grow through this time and after. So to me, inviting is really about that. It's about making sure that we're keeping the members we have. We're strategically surrounding them with the right people. It's the easiest way for a lot of people to help others beyond, especially now when maybe you can't give a tangible referral, but even when we are meeting live, it's an easier way to make an impact than focusing on like, what referral can I find them today? It's more about what referral partner can I find them today, and taking advantage of this opportunity of being able to invite a lot easier matters.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I think the other thing about that too that we miss sometimes is that in the spirit of the core value of building relationships, churn is not a good thing, because we establish those relationships with people and we don't want to turn over our chiropractor every 6 months, because then I have to rebuild that relationship, where if I help surround them with other referral partners and they stay and they work together as a referral team, everyone, to Tim's point, is gonna have more wins around that. You know, that segues great into a question that Bharat and I talked about that he really wanted to focus on. He said, you know, I'm all about the people element. So he wants to talk a little bit about, okay, who should you invite? And how does it benefit me as a member? So Bharat, I would love to go with to you to talk to us a little bit about whom should we invite at this point?
Thank you, Gina. Yeah, this is actually, as a member, I joined BNI 13 years back as a member. And I always keep reminding everybody, you know, at that time, I wish I knew as much. Probably I know a little bit more at this time after 13 years. And if I did know that as a member, probably I could help more people, you know, or I could help myself more. And I always say the time to invite, it's the same principles always, whether we were in in-person meetings or right now we are on to online meetings, but it's easier right now. And when we are finding it easier, I think we have to be focused when we are inviting right now. What do I mean by that? Because there are two questions to that, what you asked me. One was, whom should we invite, or whom could we invite right now? And how does it help me? And I'm going to tie both of them together to answer it in one way. So because I believe that basically, if I know why should I invite as a member, it makes sense then to go out and invite. And that's why this is for all the members here. That it makes sense for you to invite right now is just for some simple reasons. And one of them is, one, you can fill in the gaps of your power team right now more easily than ever, because there are people who will be ready to come. But if you focus on the people who can give you referrals, and somehow you've always had a good relationship with them, but they've not been giving you referrals right now, that's the people you can probably invite to the meeting right now, because they're going to see that, you know, like it or not, you have to show people closest to you, your friends, your relatives, your clients at times, even your suppliers, that referrals is your strategy for growing your business. How many people in your personal network are you showing on a regular basis that referrals is my strategy, how I grow my business? And when they come to the chapter meeting and they see that when you're asking for referrals, you know, others are going to give you referrals right now. The referrals might not lead to sales, but they are your connection points, which will eventually lead to them meeting you. And only that is going to lead to sales. In the end, the whole process of sales starts with meeting first one person, a prospect, or a person who might require your products or services, or for that matter, whom you could collaborate with. Basically, it's your method of growing. And if you want to grow, it would be easiest to right now invite them. One, they have the time. Two, it's possible for them to easily get into a meeting. And that would help you get yourselves more clearly in front of everybody whom you know. It's the time to connect your personal network with your BNI network more than ever right now. Because when this passes, and it is going to pass, it's not what happens today. What matters is how you set yourself up right now to what's going to happen when this opens up. Are you become stronger with your network? Are your contacts stronger, or are you just left it at the same place? I'm going to end this with, something Phil Berg wrote on his Facebook. And Phil Berg, if you're here, thank you so much. It was fantastic. What he's written is invite people you care about to introduce them to the people whom you care about. And I think that sums it up better than anything else. Over to you, Gina.
Yeah, I love that. Somebody mentioned in a presentation, a director presentation I saw a while back too, stop inviting visitors and start bringing people to connect to each other, right? Tom Fleming likes to say, we're not the world's largest inviting organization. We're the world's largest and most successful referral marketing organization. Let's bring people that we care about to connect to other people that we respect and care about for mutual benefit, right? And so we become that connector, that master connector. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Emily, I want to go to you. We talked a little bit, I know your passion for digital marketing and unique ways to invite and things like that. And certainly if you have any thoughts about the previous discussion, don't hesitate to share those. Would also like to ask you, what are some other ways that we can invite right now besides just a simple email?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's being a little over inundated with emails right now on all different fronts. And so email is an option. And the other options that I think are incredibly impactful are using the LinkedIn direct mail or InMail is what it's called. I spoke with a member actually in, I think it was Pennsylvania, who was using a virtual assistant to message people that in contact specific industries that he wanted to have come to the chapter, and was able to generate 16 visitors in person when we were meeting in person, 16 visitors a month by doing that, by having this woman who is his virtual assistant just email people and say, hey, would you be interested in expanding your network? Or, it's a very simple invitation in terms of what are you doing to grow? The grow method is an option. The other option is just, I might know somebody that might be interested in your service. Would you come to this meeting? And so that was a really interesting perspective. And I think that right now, with us not having the ability to connect in person physically, everyone's sitting there waiting for an invitation to be able to connect with individuals. So that is an option. The other option is using your Facebook and your social media. When we want to talk about inviting individuals that you actually know, right? That's why we have this sponsorship program, is those individuals that you're connected with on Facebook or any other social media platform, is that now they also are having that same necessity. Our competitors, as far as I'm aware, are not doing anything like this. And there's no other networking organizations doing anything like this. So all of those things have now alleviated a lot of time and stress on people's calendars, and people want to be connected. So just a simple message to them to say, hey, we've got something still going on, and would you like to, just come? It's not a committal to join, but come so you can be connected and get some resources, whether it be information or referrals. I think that one of the important things to note is that there's a very different inviting strategy when I say personal message versus just putting your Zoom meeting link out on your Facebook page or your Nextdoor page and saying, hey, join this meeting. That is a very different strategy that would have a lot of unintended consequences. You'd be flooded with hundreds of visitors. None of them actually want to join, things like that. So I would caution you to not try that avenue, but in a personal message with a conversation starter that then you can invite and have them go through the regular registration process, would yield a lot of quality visitors onto your meeting. The other thing I'd like to note is that Facebook and LinkedIn both have the ability, you want to be really intentional about these individuals would hopefully eventually join your chapter, and you want to verify that they are geographically aligned with your chapter when they do go back to meeting in person, that they are going to be close and can have the ability to come, and that you have, specific intentional conversations with them about when and where you meet. And so when you're doing the interview process or the visitor orientation process, that your people are very clear about those, since we are borderless right now, that we are going to return in person, and that this is the commitment should you want to join. So those things need to be a little bit more intentional, but utilizing those two resources, I think, is going to maximize the ability to connect with individuals that we've never had the ability to connect with before, because everybody's so accessible. So that's what I got.
Yeah, and I think that's so true. One of the conversations we were having while we were preparing for the panel is, should we address the question, do we think it's going to be more difficult to invite right now? But I think all of you guys have touched on the fact that really people are potentially much more accessible. They're not stuck in traffic, so they have a little extra time because they're not commuting. You know, they're potentially more accessible because they're looking for those connectivity opportunities. Like Tim said, people are feeling a little bit isolated maybe right now. And so I think this is a great opportunity for us to reach out to those people and make a personal connection and provide an opportunity for us to be a conduit for them to get connected to some other business professionals that can support them through this. And as Tim and Bharat both alluded to, it's going to be where are you positioned when we come out of it? You know, not just where are we now, but where will we be positioned when we come out of it? Tim, I want to go to you and just ask you, we were talking a little bit about this, and Emily briefly alluded to it, that there could be some potential pitfalls that we might want to avoid when we are contemplating inviting.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a point too to the invite part. While it's easier in the aspects of we know people are around, one of the things that you want to do though is make sure that you're focusing on the opportunity when you're inviting, because I think one of the challenges, and this goes with the unintended consequences too, is knowing where people are in a mental state right now. There's a lot of people who are focused on the negative news that we're getting bombarded with. The world's coming to an end. Their business is closed. What am I going to do? And to just say, hey, you want to come to a networking meeting might not come across in the way you want it to come across. So one thing would be to be focusing on, and hopefully your members believe and see the opportunities that exist, and you using language such that, like, what are you doing now to capture the opportunities that this is providing? Will snap people back to be like, what opportunities, what are you talking about? And you can highlight the fact of, well, now's the time where you can really develop a network where you didn't have time to do that before. That's going to really amplify your business. Now's the time where if you do so, you can capture market share. Now's the time, right? If you get people focused on the positive outcomes of that instead of just blindly going, hey, you want to go to networking, I think does two things. One, it's going to get the right people. It's going to get the quality people you want versus just everybody. And it's going to get those people to look at what you're offering them as a very positive thing. Thus, what you're trying to give them is a positive thing. One of the unintended consequences, Emily was kind of hitting on it, is, you know, if we just blindly invite, if we do things like, in my regions, I'm telling my chapters not to publicize their meeting link, is because you could be inundated. It's still a quality game. It's not just a quantity game. Yeah, maybe we can get more than we had before, but we want to make sure we're focused on quality people, because at some point you're still committing to them. Even if this BNI online thing goes longer than we think it's going to be, or even when we go live, if people come, they visit and they join, that's a commitment. That's a commitment on both sides. It's not just them committing a membership in a time with your chapter. It's your chapter committing to wanting to help them as well. And so you want to make sure you're focused on that. And there are some things where people, if you just blindly do that and they visit and they talk a great game and everybody loves each other and they commit, and then you go live and realize they're 4 hours away and they're not going to come to your live meeting now, that's going to have a negative impact after. If we even if a bunch of people visit and a bunch of people join during online, and then as soon as it goes live, they decide they don't want to make that commitment and drop out, you're going to have a very negative impact on your chapter, not just because it drops in size, but the current members are going to feel deflated and feel like they've wasted their time during this time. And that this whole thing was just a mirage, and that has consequences beyond it as well. So you still want to focus very much on local. I'd be inviting locally. I know there's opportunities for cross chapter visits and cross world visits. And so I would be hyper focused locally, because that's what's going to really matter in the long run of growing your business. I would focus on quality. I would focus on the right invite language instead of just, again, blasting it out. Again, massive opportunity, but it can go the wrong way quick if just kind of, not handled correctly. There's one question that came in too about people, they've had visitors coming in and they're leaving before they get the chance to introduce themselves. That's going to be a challenge too, especially if you get a lot of visitors coming in at once because we spam it. Well, there's no way you can get through your meeting. And you got to remember, the visitors don't know what a BNI meeting is, right? So they don't know what to understand. So one tip that we're starting to implement in our regions too is have a visitor host ready and have the president create a breakout room before the meeting starts during that open networking and just funnel the visitors in there so that the visitor host can prep them for what they're about to see, not do a visitor orientation, but just say, hey, welcome. I just want you to understand this is the quick agenda we're about to run through. You're going to see the members introduce themselves and we're going to give you a chance to introduce yourself. So be thinking about what you want to say, enjoy it. And at the end of the meeting, we're all going to come back into this breakout room and I can answer any questions about what you saw. That's going to keep more people, right? Because they don't know what to expect. And if you got a chapter of 50 people and they're sitting in an hour of presentations back to back to back with no idea that they're going to have the chance, no idea when that's going to come, people can get bored really quickly with an online meeting as well. And so you got to prep them. You got to do that. You get 100 visitors in your room because somebody spammed out the link. That's going to be very, very difficult to do. So still focus on the quality and hyper focus on the local.
Yeah, excellent points there. And I think too, excellent point on engaging the visitors immediately in a breakout room so that we ensure we connect them, right? And we're not just everybody sort of wide open, just doing their thing, is that we want to definitely connect them. I love something else that Tim touched on, you know, in the spirit of the core value of positive attitude, and great leaders confront the brutal facts if you've read Good to Great. So, I mean, obviously we have some brutal facts in front of us at the moment, but at the same time, I think from a positivity standpoint, most marketing experts, and Emily probably knows this number better than I do, would tell you that no matter what your financial revenue situation is, a percentage of that revenue would be devoted to marketing your business. And so it might be a smaller amount from a percentage standpoint when your revenue is down. What a great opportunity to let them know that referral marketing is the most cost-effective way to grow your business. And therefore, when your marketing resources are less than they've been, what's the most effective way for you to market? And so I think we have a great opportunity here to share that message with people as we're inviting them, to Tim's point, strategically and locally, and in a hyper-focused kind of way. I just want to ask one more question, and then we're going to open it up. There are a number of questions that have come in, and so we will allow our panelists an opportunity to answer some of those questions over the next 20 or so minutes. My final question well, actually, there probably should be two, is what if somebody wants to join right now? So Emily, do you want to take that one? How can we help them if they actually want to submit an application to become part of our chapter right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have the online fillable PDF that can be accessed that you would send to them. We just rolled out the new 1, 2, 3, or the conversion. We have an invite collateral that was just presented this week, and then the conversion one. So you would send the conversion collateral piece along with the PDF application. We are still working on online applications to be rolled out here very soon. So wait for that to be coming. Then you would have the visitor host send that as a follow-up. Hopefully somebody would also call. Ideally, following up is definitely the key to any sales process. So once the email's been sent, you do want to call and follow up with them and invite them back just like you would in an in-person meeting. So I think that the new branded collateral is a really great opportunity to work with them, and then set up. You can use your Zoom account to do interviews just like you would in the in-person world. And again, I think that it's key during that interview, there needs to be a very intentional and a different conversation during the interview process than there would be in an in-person interview. We have lots of different obstacles and lots of different things going on, and to set the right expectation that this will return to in-person, and geography and time commitment and in-person one-to-ones and things like that still need to be discussed in pretty intense detail to make sure that people really understand, if they've never been to an in-person BNI meeting, that while it's really easy and accessible and you can do it with pajama pants on if you want to, that is not the case in the real world, and we need to make sure that we set the right expectations for any potential member.
Yeah, really important to consider. when we're thinking about that. The process doesn't change, right? We still want to look for high quality members and people to strategically include in our network. I did pop into the chat bar the BNI online resources.bni.com website, where you can pull down some of this marketing collateral and some other incredible resources that our marketing team has put together for us to utilize on this platform. I want to wrap up with one final question to Bharat, because he brought this up and I think it's really important, and then we'll open up the Q&A bar. Bharat, you talked about the importance of having our visitors register to attend the meeting. Share why that's important.
So first of all, thank you, Tim. A fantastic idea to have a reception room for the visitors so that they can be ready. I mean, a lot of chapters did this when they were meeting in person also. And we had the visitor lead, visitor host actually talk to them. So how do we do it right now? So it's a great idea. But to do that, we need to know who are the visitors. We need to have the email IDs in advance so that we can create the breakout room where we can take them. Everybody is not technologically savvy. Every president of every chapter in the world is not going to be so technologically savvy, or for that matter, even the co-hosts, that they can just keep doing this on the spot, on the go. And so if there was a little bit of a preparation, also that can help the leadership team prepare for how many visitors are they going to have today in the meeting. If we know in advance how to plan for that, it might be easier how to run the meeting. It might make sense to do that. In fact, one of my friends suggested the other way around. Have a breakout room for all your members instead of for the visitors. So the visitors can come into the main room. We know the members' email IDs. Well, take them into the breakout room, and when they drop out of the breakout room, they come into the main room. It can be used both ways. It can be used before the meeting. It can be used after the meeting for the huddle also. It's just a thought of idea, but it's very important to know that our visitors have been invited. We don't have someone walking in randomly into a chapter meeting. I mean, somebody made a joke that you'd randomly put in at one point of time, an 8-digit meeting number. We might just land up in some BNI meeting or somewhere around the world. And it's so funny that can happen. Just put in a number and you can reach, because there's so many meetings happening, 7,500 in a week. That's a huge number of meetings happening. So I believe that it's important to keep a track of who's coming. And that's why you need to invite from your BNI Connect app. You should give an invitation to the visitor. And once they confirm, you should confirm to the leadership team. All of us like to see our names on the PowerPoint presentation. And your visitor would be impressed if their name was there already. We are ready to welcome Mr. Tim Roberts today. And it would feel good for anybody who's walking into the meeting. So friends, please use the registration process. That'll help us actually help our visitors to have a better experience of our BNI meeting, especially in the online environment. Yes, Gina, over to you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Bharat. It's critical for us to have them register so that we can connect with them in advance and give them the information, and love that. So incredible discussion, you guys. Thank you so much for that. Tim, I know you've been manning the chat bar a little bit, or the Q&A bar. Is there anything that stands out to you that you're dying to answer? And for Emily and Bharat, you guys have access as well. I'm going to pause the recording at this point. And we'll jump into the Q&A.